move to the AFC South. This is a little bit different. We have established quarterbacks in two of the teams, maybe one that people might think is established in one of the teams, and then another guy who's a journeyman and we've seen good play. That's Nick Foles. But we started off Houston. Deshaun Watson's there. He's got as talented of a duo of receivers in the NFL when they're healthy, and DeAndre Hopkins and Will Fuller. Hopkins setting and shattering the PFF record for most catchable passes without a drop last year. Their question marks, though, it's offensive line, obviously. Mike, did they do anything this offseason to get better?
I mean, they did. Titus Howard, Max Sharping, rounds 1, round 2. Can't be worse than what they had last year, with two of the, I think Julian Davenport had the most pressures allowed of anyone in the NFL. Right tackle position was right up there as well. So I don't think it's going to be worse, but at the same time, this was Titus Howard came up from Alabama State. Max Sharping's coming from Northern Illinois. The amount of times we see tackles come from small schools and immediately hit the ground running in the NFL, I mean, that's just, it never happens. It's such a big gap. It's such a big jump to make. Going from blocking the guys they were blocking to Khalil Max of the world is a difference. There's a big difference there. So I think it's just going to be bad still. It's just going to be bad still. But we've seen Deshaun Watson, we saw him make the playoffs with it. I mean, it didn't really hamper them. They do a lot. They chip defensive ends more than any team I saw last year. They're going to continue to do that and still probably lead a good offense.
So is Nick Martin a brother of Zach Martin or more like a distant cousin?
He's, they're same family. You can definitely tell, but he's not following the same paths as him in the NFL.
One's an all-pro, one's
a starting caliber center. One's an all-pro guard.
Going back to those rookies, though, you and I have talked about at length the rookie wall or that transition from the college to the NFL, or even from the bigger schools, is very difficult for offensive linemen. You bring in two guys from smaller schools like Titus Howard and Max Sharping, that wall even becomes steeper, and it makes it a lot more difficult for them to get better. I think both of them are projects, which makes it hard to kind of believe that this offensive line is going to take significant steps forward. Even if it does take a step forward, you can't see them really breaking into even the top half of the NFL in offensive line play.
I think what we're seeing, though, is to go get Deshaun Watson, the Texans had to give up a ton of draft capital, and then they actually traded a second-round pick just to get out of a Brock Osweiler contract. Those moves, so you had to go get Watson. They got their quarterback. But what you see is in the subsequent years, it's really difficult to build around him. It's taken 2 years for them to truly be able to address the offensive line. And even when they do, they put draft capital towards it. It's Max Sharping, it's Titus Howard, but then they still need a couple of years to develop. So it just shows how difficult it is when you trade up to go get a quarterback to go attack one of your weaknesses, and that offensive line has been a weakness. So I think that's just what we're seeing in Houston, and Texans fans have to just have a little bit of patience and say, look, Deshaun Watson, he's our guy, that's great, but I think it's going to take a little bit of time to get these pieces properly around him. But also be encouraged, it's been the Watson and Hopkins show pretty much the last 2 years, and when Fuller's healthy, he's been added a great dynamic to that offense. So I can't wait to see what Deshaun Watson can do if that offensive line can come around.
And I think, too, Deshaun Watson can help a little bit that offensive line. There's some unnecessary sacks he's taking because he's the type of player that doesn't ever want to call play, call quits. Yeah. He wants to keep the play alive, but sometimes, Gruden always used to tell me, protect your head and protect your right shoulder. Sometimes he has to protect himself. When you feel your leg getting wrapped up, it's not bad sometimes to take that sack or try to throw the ball away before you take that hit. And that's what I'd like to see more from him this year.
And he has that in him. Like one of our questions at Clemson was, why was he a one-read guy and coming off his first read and not doing a whole lot? And then when he got to the NFL, he started to extend plays more, and it's a huge part of his game as far as making big plays. Yeah. But he might need to go back to where he was at Clemson and just kind of keep it simple, maybe take off, pick up a few yards, protect himself, and not try to make the superhero play every single time.
How much different is Watson than, is he in the same bin as almost like a Wentz to you in terms of he can win purely from the pocket? If you took all of his mobility away, no mobility, is Watson good enough to win as a pure passer in the NFL?
I think so. I don't think he's a top 10 passer, but he's more. He's got some similarities to Wentz and some similarities to Andy Dalton, where I think if you give them the right pre-snap look, they can go to the right place, they can throw the ball, it's okay. It's when you have to go from 1 to 2 to 3 and go through progressions a little bit more. I think Dalton has struggled with that at times, and Watson has mitigated that by doing more outside the pocket stuff. So that's say the difference between a Watson and a Dalton. Wentz has some of that outside the pocket magic too, but if you're talking about just in the pocket, Watson's not the most polished or most accurate guy, but he can if you've got the right game plan situation, we'll say, right play calls.
So then we flipped over to defense, though, real quick on the Texans. They have a couple of stars that everybody knows about, one of them being Jadeveon Clowney. And I just read a report before this in preparation. The contract dispute there, what he wants is getting a little ugly, and now he may not go. So if Clowney doesn't suit up for them, they have a guy in Davin Bellamy from Georgia, and then Jamal Davis in Akron. Guys that may be graded high in our college grading, but maybe unproven, and so they may actually lack a pass rushing force here, and so we may have other issues other than just offensive line for the Texans in 2019. An area not of concern for the Colts, though, is that offensive line and then their quarterback as well, Andrew Luck. Quentin Nelson looked every bit of what we thought he could have been coming out of college, if not more, Mike.
Quentin Nelson was, as advertised. I said, I think he's just going to be a Hall of Famer. Like, that's how good he was at the college level. Right off the bat, year one, he's the top 10 guard in the NFL. That's what I kind of expected, and he transformed that offensive line. And basically, him and Braden Smith transformed that offensive line in terms of, you had one, like I said, top 10 guard in the NFL. Braden Smith comes in, college guard, ends up playing tackle at a high level of tackle. All of a sudden, 2 starters from a rookie, that's almost unheard of, and guys get better. So, like, we're expecting, from what we saw from them a year ago, we weren't expecting them to be that good. So I think in year 2, they're going to be even better. And now could be one of the best could be the best offensive line in the NFL this year.
Quentin Nelson makes that year 2 jump. And then you have Braden Smith, who played out of position last year, playing at right tackle, even though he was a guard at Auburn. You expect him to take a significant leap, having played the position all offseason. But they also had some hidden gems, and former 2016 first rounder Ryan Kelly had plus play last year, finishing in the top half. It's among centers. And Matt Slauson goes down at guard. In comes Mark Lewinsky. He puts in plus play, ends up being one of the top 15 guards from week 6 on. The offensive line is very, very good. You look at after that rookie curve for Quentin Nelson and Braden Smith, who didn't start amazing out of the gate. After week 6, this is the highest graded offensive line in football, and I think they're returning a ton of starters. Hopefully Costanzo can stay healthy, and if Luck in a clean pocket, this Indy team is definitely the favorite, in my opinion, in the AFC South to take it.
We all saw what Luck can do in a clean pocket, something that he needed, obviously, in his career. We've seen him run around for his life, and that's not his strongest suit here. He also gets Devin Funchess this year to go along with T.Y. Hilton. How big of an addition is Funchess in that offense, and can Funchess actually make his presence known on an NFL roster?
Parish Campbell too, right?
Yeah.
Second rounder comes over too. So two new guys.
I'm not that excited about their playmakers, to be honest. I mean, I think Funchess is okay, and I think Parish Campbell is right now is a gimmick player. He's really fast, and if they get him the ball on what he did,
Like
Ohio
string game
State,
guy, right? Almost like a punt returner in the offense.
Yeah, I mean, he's a faster Tavon Austin at this point, so he's not, you don't want him on the outside running nuanced routes at this point.
Well, they're not exciting. It's like they're better than Chester Rogers, they're better than Ryan Grant.
They're better
than Zach Pascal.
They're probably better.
And the interesting thing about the roster is you look up and down, I'm not sure there's a unit where you can't say they were better than they were a season ago. There's every single position on the roster you have reason to believe they are better than they were a season ago, which that's rare. Usually someone got worse somewhere. Usually you lost someone, and it was like nothing.
Well, is this the best team that Luck has ever had, period? Has he ever had a better team than this in his whole career?
I think it's the best team. It might be, but I think the tricky part about that is the offensive line improvement that we talked about, I thought was as much coaching and schematics. We're losing the nuance of discussion these days, but Quentin Nelson didn't all of a sudden make the Colts into a playoff team. They became a playoff team because Jacoby Brissett was replaced with Andrew Luck. Yep. And they had a new system that shaved 0.3 of a second off of Andrew Luck's average time to throw. So a system that was getting the ball out of his hands quicker, making the offensive line better, while the offensive line also improved. All of those things came together and made that offense better. So I think with the coaching involved, it could be the best team that they've had, but I also think there's been points where even when they were relying on just Andrew Luck, he did a pretty good job with more of this aggressive downfield passing game. They kind of reeled him in a little bit last year, and I think he did really well with it.
Well, that's why I think Frank Reich's a stud. You know what I mean? I just think he does a fantastic job in offensively, like you just said, because you put all the pieces together. You don't want to rely on an offensive line so you can hold the ball 5-7 seconds in the pocket. So they did a good job, getting the ball out of Luck's hand, keeping him healthy, surrounding him with more weapons up front to protect him. So I think they continue to get better. And I just always look at that quarterback position, man. Luck is one of the guys in the NFL that you take him any given Sunday because he just has that poise in the pocket. He's going to buy time. He can extend plays within the pocket, outside the pocket. He's just a special player. So I think the weapons around him is an upgrade, and he'll just keep doing his thing. And I think with the coaching staff.
He reminds me of your boy Big Ben, though, right? Where early in Ben's career, he didn't care about quick game. He didn't care about his mechanics or anything like that, or taking easy throws. He's like, all right, yeah, come on, bring it. I'm going to make a big play, right? So Ben still has that in him, but I think later in his career, he knows when to take the easy throw, knows when to throw the quick slant, knows when to get rid of the ball.
Yeah.
Luck added more of that to his game last year, but he still has the special plays. He still has the outside of structure plays and the plays where, hey, we're down 14, go win a game for us. Luck can do it. Big Ben can do it. So I think that's the beauty of it, is taking a top 10 quarterback, giving him easy throws, and also knowing he can go win a game for you too when the easy stuff isn't there. That's the best combination that Luck has had of those two things, I think, in his career.
People are talking about Eric Ebron like he's some rising star stud tight end because it was his touchdown numbers or something that flew up. Yeah. What's the truth with him?
He was a little bit better last year. He did make some nice plays, but again, I come back to the scheme. We're so fantasy football driven in this world too. So you see, what do you have, 10 or 12 touchdowns or whatever it was. So you think it's a breakout season. If you actually watch some of those touchdowns, it's literally him just running in a straight line and the busted coverage by the defense or whatever it might be. So beyond the touchdown numbers, he got a little bit better, but he didn't get as good as the touchdown numbers said. He didn't become like a top 5 tight end overnight.
Improved scheme, improved offensive line, and having Andrew Luck work from a clean pocket elevates the play of the supporting cast. And I think that's what makes the pass catching upgrades better than maybe they would be on a different team that doesn't have the luxury of scheme, offensive line, and Andrew Luck. Getting Parish Campbell and Devin Funchess, maybe they're not exciting or enticing, but in that scheme with Luck playing from a clean pocket, they are better, and they're better than a Dontrell Inman, Ryan Grant combo. And I think that's what's exciting about them mostly, because they're going into a place where Luck's going to make them better. The offensive line's going to make them better. And you'll see maybe a breakout year from Devin Funchess where he puts up 8-9 touchdowns and everyone says it's a breakout year for him. But again, it goes back to that scheme and Luck and the offensive line.
Mm-hmm. He's going to have his best quarterback probably of his entire career, and that dates back through Michigan. And obviously that's even saying with Cam, best true quarterback. So we know who Luck is. Do we really know who Nick Foles is as a quarterback for a full season? And that's open to anybody here.
Mm-hmm. We do not.
No.
We do not. But we know, actually, what we do know is he's better. What we do know is he's better than Blake.
And then put him there. Like,
Which
do that
week?
for us.
1 week and 8, the next week of 3.
Is that how it works? Okay, well then give me the average. Give me the Bortles average compared to the, is he, how much better? That's the question. It's been about the defense. It's been about them being able to run the ball with Fournette when he's healthy. He's not always healthy. But if you just isolate, which is really what PFF does, just the quarterback position, how much better are they?
They're better than they were with Bortles.
We're safe to say better, but how much better?
Well, I just think too. We talk so much about coaching, and surrounding your players. I think for Nick Foles, though, getting now matched back up with John DeFilippo, and I think they had some success together.
Yeah.
Of course they did, but they're on the same page. And I just know through my career, when I went and played for the Raiders, I had a quarterback coach in Paul Hackett that I knew believed in me. So your confidence rises with that, and you have a coaching staff that believes in you. So I think for Nick Foles, he's going to a team that has, a good defense, and it should be, pretty good. Where now it's like, man, I got a coach that believes in me, and we're going to orchestrate this offense, what I'm comfortable playing in. So I think that's going to help Foles a lot, and he's going to play well in that offense.
I just think he might be a year or two away from living up to the contract, because when he was with Philadelphia, you got Alshon Jeffrey, you had Nelson Aguilar emerge, you got Zach Ertz, you have Dallas Goedert, or you had multiple tight ends. Selleck, when he was there, you had multiple tight ends and a good scheme.
Offensive line.
And the best offensive line in the NFL, right? So now in Jacksonville, bottom third offensive line, and who's he throwing to? Marquise Lee, D.D. Westbrook, Keelan Cole, some combination of DJ Chark, Chris Conley, Terrell. Who's he throwing to right now? And they don't have the tight ends to create those mismatches like the Eagles did. Right. So then the question is, do they make Foles into more of that uber game manager like they tried to make Bortles the last couple of years? Can Foles be a better game manager than Bortles? Absolutely. I think he can do that. But then, like we talked about with the Ravens, it's risky to just rely on the run game and defense. Because in 1 year, you could become the 2017 Jags where the defense is great, the run game's good enough and you make it to the AFC Championship, but that style is just tough to sustain year over year.
So minus a few unbelievable games down a Super Bowl run stretch, is it safe to say he's an Andy Dalton-like quarterback, talking Foles? Got to have good people around to win?
Yeah, but I say, I mean, honestly, at a macro level, I say that about like 10 to 15 guys in the NFL. Here's the way I'll break it down. Over the last 3 years, the highest rated games by Philadelphia quarterbacks, Foles has the top 2. That's him starting about a third of the games that Wentz started. But Foles also has like the 3 worst games and 5 out of the worst 10. So he's been at this highly volatile spectrum where he went out and had this NFC Championship and the Super Bowl, which were incredible, which were better than any 2 games that we've seen Carson Wentz put together his entire career by our grading, but he's also had the worst games. So how's that for an answer? You could
Sounds
get
more like Fitzmagic.
That's what he's played like the last couple of years. He's played like Fitzmagic, and guys like that, when they run into you get the right run, and I think that's what Jacksonville's banking on. You get the right run of games over the next 4 years, maybe Foles can make a playoff run, but I think expecting sustained success is going to be risky.
And that volatility comes from not having that ability to elevate your supporting cast and being dependent on having a run on the defense or the run game being good or if not great for a span of games. When you see the quarterbacks, the 10 to 15 you speak to, that can't elevate their supporting cast, take people to the next level, you'll see how volatile they can be when DJ Chark drops a couple passes, the offensive line's not playing as well, they're under pressure more, and then next thing you know, they're dropping to one of the worst games they've had. I think Nick Foles is still in that tier, even with the high-graded games that he did have in the postseason run.
Yeah, that's where I'm
We
at.
have a volatile quarterback, and Foles has the good, has the great in him, but also has the poor. So then we jump to Tennessee, and I keep trying to find a lead here for that reason, but they keep just setting me right up here. Mariota he doesn't have the poor, but he also has not shown the elite or even the great. He's been consistently average his entire career. Is this possibly the last year we're going to see Mariota in a Titans uniform if he doesn't turn it on?
Yes, very much yes.
I think
there's
it's
not a lot of redeeming qualities.
It's like the same situation with Jameis Winston. This draft class. It's like this is the year. Like, are they? And it's crazy too because teams get put in this position. Do you extend them? They kind of like the Blake Bortles train for a little bit. Now, Marcus Mariota. It's kind of like is that your long-term fix?
So I think the league has changed a little bit. There was a point right before Jameis and Mariota got into the league, finding a guy that you could bank on being a top 15 quarterback every year, I feel was difficult. And there was a point where we said, what happens when Brady and Breeze and Rivers, Big Ben and Rod, what happens when all those guys move on? The league is in trouble. But since that point, we've added a whole bunch of pretty good quarterbacks.
Right.
And now all of a sudden it feels like 25, 26 teams feel decent about their quarterback situation, the Titans being one of them. But at some point, if you have the 20th best quarterback or 18th best quarterback, are you okay moving on? I mean, that's where Mariota is right now. Is he 18th? Right. Is he 20th? Is he 22nd? So once he's getting off that rookie contract, I think it is time to say, you know what? The drop-off between what Mariota has shown and what the league has been producing over the last couple of years, the drop-off isn't great. So don't be afraid to move on. So it's a huge year for
and he
Mariota.
hasn't been healthy either, right? So
that's a part of the skill set.
And when you combine that, it's hard with it. You're trying to put together a team and your quarterback's out of the lineup regularly. I mean, that's
the thing I struggle with Mariota is, as athletic as he is, he's one of the worst quarterbacks, one of the lowest grades since he came into the league on plays outside the pocket. And I mean, Josh Allen makes too many plays outside the pocket, but that's not what you want to hang your hat on. But when you have that skill set, you got to be able to use it. He doesn't have that creativity, which comes back to this whole, so now you're dependent on play call and scheme and receivers to get open, and if all of those things fail, you can't create outside, that's tough.
And that's what coaches have to look at, because there's some with being athletic and making plays, but are you just a scrambling quarterback and a running quarterback, or do you have that poise where, Big Ben's not running away from anyone, but he's one of the best inside that pocket maneuver,
right.
Baker Mayfield, so it is. It's just interesting to me when you see the 40 time and you see these different things. But when they get outside the pocket, where are their eyes? Are they even looking downfield to try to complete a pass or not? So it's just interesting because, and I love thinking of just, the NFL in general, where the quarterback position's going, because Russell Wilson opened the door for Kyler Murray to give him an opportunity. Now, if Murray, has a good season, now it's just going to open the door for just keeping an open mind of this type of quarterback you're looking for that can extend plays like that, but also has the arm talent. I mean, Kyler Murray's accurate with it, could, make plays from the pocket as well, throwing the ball.
Yeah, the Titans roster just overall, I mean, there's not massive weaknesses. They got a pretty good offensive line. Playmakers could be better. The defense has some talent, so it's just a big year for them.
We know Vrabel's defense will be good. Obviously, Vrabel knows how to run a defense. They did address playmakers by bringing in A.J. Brown in the draft and then Adam Humphries to man the slot. Is that enough to keep Mariota there and let him have this elevated
I think that just
cast?
adds weight to the make or break season. You bring in Adam Humphries, you bring in A.J. Brown, Roger Saffold. This could arguably be the best supporting cast Mariota's had if he can stay healthy, play a full 16-game season, and not bring that 18th rank into a 15, a 14. Then you really have to kind of cut the cord on him, because if you can't elevate with this supporting cast, how much better is it going to get? And it's not going to get much better when we put you on a inflated second-year contract for the quarterback position.
And there was a little identity shift offense-wise last year too, because it was Dion Lewis, and they were splitting carries all year, and it was like they wanted to dump him, whatever, with Derrick Henry, and he was getting 13 touches a game, and then to end the year, he's
got that killer stiff arm, Jack.
He's like 25 touches a game or something like that. Believe me, it hurts. I had no air, and I was concussed for like 2 weeks. But it just seemed like down the stretch, it was like the strategy was simple: give the thing to Derrick Henry, let him freaking go, and he did. I mean, is there something too? Could this be a running team in 2019?
I think it almost has to be. I mean, you want plus play from Derrick Henry. He ended up finishing as the highest graded running back in football last year on a smaller sample size, but it's exciting with that. The offensive line is good, creating those open throws for quarterbacks that maybe don't have plus play, like Lamar Jackson. Derrick Henry, the play action game, offensive line is good. You want more open throws, and I think lean on Derrick Henry to create those with the play action, and then you also have A.J. Brown, one of the better separators in the class.
When Mariota and Jameis came out, I think I made the point, Mariota's the guy that's kind of just he's gonna get you on the green year over year, make you, you're gonna win 8 games at least with Mariota, and some years you'll win 10 or whatever. I still think that's been true, and Jameis is the guy that in one given year he's just gonna carry you. You're gonna win 12, but you might win 5. You might get a volatile season from Jameis. I think that's kind of been true in their career so far. So this is the chance for Mariota to be the guy that gets you on the green again, but if everything else around him, the defense, the run game, the O-line, and now improved playmakers, all of that comes together in the AFC South, which is always wide open. This could be their chance, to say, okay, this is the year where they win 10 or 11 and go on a little playoff run.
There's not a bad team in the South, right? I mean, you talk about the pressure that's on him this year. He's got minimum 6 really hard games on that schedule, right?
It's wide open. It's definitely wide open.
It's wide open.